This is Jerod Lakefield, a novel by Don Fensler, Part 48, Clouds. Where was Jennifer? Where was Jerod Lakefield? Was he still in the ambulance with me? Then there was this violent jolt like the greatest earthquake in the history of the world, and I felt my body thrown in the darkness. Then I was lying on the pavement by the ambulance, and everything seemed normal. But wait, please wait. I looked up into the sky, and the clouds were moving away from me at the speed of light. There was a sucking, humming sound, and the clouds kept moving away. There was blue all around them. At the speed of light, they were moving with a humming sound, not unpleasant. I could see the clouds disappearing as they moved away, and again, it did not feel unpleasant what was happening right now. Then suddenly the clouds came back at me, moving at the speed of light. There was a deafening screeching sound like metal on metal. It was so painful. I covered my ears, but it didn't help. My eardrums were about to explode. I tried to scream, but no sound came forth. Then, as the clouds were almost upon me and about to crush me into the pavement, they contracted again and moved away from me at the speed of light. There was a humming, sucking sound, and this was incongruous. It felt nice, actually pleasant, and viewing the clouds move away from me was joyful, like some drug-induced high. I actually felt like I had been drugged. Then just as I was about to cry out in joy, the screeching metal-on-metal sound started, and the clouds jumped away from me. The clouds were changing colors. The white, soft clouds moving away from me. I was motionless lying motionless on the pavement, and all the white clouds moving away filled me with great happiness, and the black tempered clouds suctioning toward me was the greatest terror I have ever felt in my life. It kept going back and forth between the two. It just kept happening over and over. I don't know for how long, with the clouds moving towards me and then away. I had totally lost sensation from my own being, except for the effect the clouds were having on me. How I loved the light, billowy clouds, but the dark ones filled me with the greatest terror I've ever experienced in my whole life. I wanted it all to stop. I wanted it to continue, as I felt without this acceleration and deceleration of the clouds, I would be dead. Oh God, I tried to say, but there was nothing. And then the metal-on-metal screeching and the black reptile-like clouds were coming at me at the speed of light, and I knew I was going to die here. Then suddenly there was an explosion of light again, just like at the beginning, and the white billowy clouds were around me like a very thick fog. I felt wonderful. Then I heard Jerod Lakefield ask, "What day is it?" The ambulance driver and paramedic were cowering in the front of the ambulance in a fetal position, crying and screaming, as the other injured man, who I thought was dead, stood over all of us and said to Jerod, "Jerod, you may ascend now. It is time." It was Timothy Mannion, the cripple. "It is time, Jerod. We will see you soon, Jerod," said Timothy Mannion. "It is time for you to ascend and prepare for your return." "Ascend?" "Thank you, Timothy," I heard Jerod Lakefield whisper, and he looked at me with eyes that could burn a hole through steel, and then closed his eyes, and I knew Jerod Lakefield was dead. Jennifer was holding my neck so tightly I could hardly breathe. I stood up. The fog gradually thinned and was gone. The sun was shining. The street looked exactly as it had been before the explosion or crash or whatever had happened. I looked at the ambulance, though, and it was totally undamaged. The buildings all around looked exactly the same. The trees and flowers, everything looked the same before this crazy incident with the clouds. And the explosions. The only difference was there was no people at all. In fact, there was no sign of life at all. There were no birds in the air, dogs or cats or squirrels or anything on the ground. The trees and flowers were alive, and Jennifer and I were alive, and Timothy Mannion. The ambulance driver and paramedic were now gone. I suddenly jerked as if from sleep and ran to the ambulance to look for Jerod Lakefield, but there was no Jerod or driver or paramedic. There was nobody but Jennifer, Timothy, and I. I had no idea what was going on. The driverless cars were stopped in the street. They were stopped and the whole city looked like a fucking Google Maps photograph. What the fuck is going on? I asked. Timothy Mannion seemed calm, but Jennifer had a look of amazement and wonder on her face. Not scared at all, just amazed. Again I jerked as if from asleep and moved to Jennifer. Where is everybody? Where the fuck is everybody? I asked. I grabbed my cell phone and tried calling, but it was dead. Dead as the streets around me. We have to go back to the Stapleton Center, I said. What happened to Jerod? What happened to his body? Timothy looked so calm it was beginning to disturb me. Was he in on this? I'm going, I screamed, and began running back to the Stapleton Center. I passed more and more signs, not of death, but rather of non-life. There was no sign of life, neither human or animal. I ran and ran for almost 30 minutes and arrived at the Stapleton Center. I prayed to God that I would see Jerod Lakefield. As I thought of him, I began to cry. Great heaving sobs. I felt so scared and alone. Jerod! I screamed out, Jerod! Jerod Lakefield! I was not calling out to a man. I was calling out to God. I was so desperately alone and frightened. The Stapleton Center was also empty of people, except for me. The game ball lay in the middle of the court. It seemed to have life as it rolled slowly, ever so slowly, in the contours of the floor. I was so very grateful for that sign of life, the dead dumb ball rolling to and fro aimlessly, but somehow, seemingly with purpose.